Hi everyone, welcome to the channel. We have another special guest, another Yellowjackets cast member, Nia Sondaya, who plays Tina Keela. Thank you for being here, Nia.
Of course, thanks for having me. So excited to be here.
Yes, we get to talk about the finale and the season as a whole, which was so big for your character and Akilah.
Yeah.
But first off, I wanted to start with, you came into the show in season two. Can you talk about what that was like joining the cast and what it's been like seeing your character develop these past two seasons?
Definitely. I want to say that coming on was obviously very intimidating just because it's a huge show. The cast is phenomenal across the board. And I just remember coming on and also I think it's intimidating to step into the shoes of another like a character who an actor is already um kind of laid the foundation work for. And so, but I will say that luckily for me, Kia did such beautiful work. And so I really had like a nice foundation to kind of settle into. And grow from. So that was great. And then getting there, Samantha was the sweetest ever, and we became very fast friends. And I really kind of connected quickly with a lot of the group. And so coming in season two, um, it was intimidating, but towards the end, I was very thankful for the process.
Yeah, and I feel like Akilah is just one of the fan favorites of the show. Like I think she's an unsung hero. I love her because she does so much for the group. Like she's sewing up Van's face, she's doing the food, and
She's
like
helping Shauna deliver her baby. Yeah.
exactly. So
Akilah
what is
steps
it?
up when necessary.
Yeah. So what is it like playing a beloved character on a show where a lot
Oh,
of the characters do things that people don't necessarily like?
not gonna lie, I'm a bit spoiled. Because I think like every week, like Jenna's like, dang, Melissa's getting hate, or like somebody, So it's like, or even Kevin's like everyone, has something to say about Travis. I feel like everyone's got like their little things, and every week I'm like, oh, everyone just loves me. It's great. Um, so it is really fun being the character that everyone can like find like themselves like relating to, or they just like love her and find her to be such a sweetheart. And she is. And I will say that there are parts of that that are really enjoyable for me to play as well. Just like when there's nothing but chaos happening around me and I get to be like holding a bunny, and I still have so much of my humanity with me when I play Akilah. And so I think that that's um helpful for me, definitely. But I do think that the expansion of her role was really cool this season, and getting like allowing her to do so much more was really cool. And then to see all of the like fan interactions, and I will say not all of it has been great this season, even though for the most part it has been. But I like episode 4, when I voted
Mm.
for Coach Ben. Oh, people were not happy with me, and I'm not gonna lie, I had a bit of a panic attack. It was like me at 3 in the morning being like, I was like, people hate Akilah. Oh no. um, but it's fun to see all of the interactions, and for the most part, I get really great. I get so much love from everybody, so much great feedback. So it's fun for me, and I do feel bad for them. Their characters are so awful. They're hated by everyone. I'm kidding.
I think that's also the appeal of the show is, rarely do we see characters who do all these things and yet we're still able to love them. But then Akila's a
Right.
nice, fresh thing where like she pretty much hasn't done
Yeah,
much wrong.
you can kind of love her guilt free.
Yeah, exactly. I know you mentioned the animals. We're going to talk about that soon. But one thing I did want to talk about was I saw a post, I think it was a story that you posted about changing Akilah's hair this season to locks.
Yeah.
Could you speak about why that was important to you and what it was like working with the hair team to do that?
Yeah. Oh my God. Thank you. You're the first
Yeah.
person to ask that. So I'm gonna be really honest. I think in season 2, so I'm a Black girl who's used to doing protective styles, just because that's how I maintain my hair. It's healthy for me, and it's a lot less like maintenance on my day to day. And so coming into season 2, I think there was a bit of confusion surrounding hair and what we were going to do. And so season 2 was great. And I do think that having Akilah's like natural hair out and having the poof was great. But then on the back end, um, just like my like maneuvering through life and self-taping and things of that nature became a little more difficult that way. And so when it was time to go into season 3, I had talked to production, and I talked to the hair department about maybe wanting to do something that would be a protective style, which one I thought would make a lot of sense for Akilah. I think that me personally, as a Black girl, if I was in the middle of the wilderness, I'd be braiding it up or locking it up immediately, just because there's no comb, there's no brush, there's no hot water. What am I to do?
Mhm.
So that was mostly it was a choice made by me, for my mental health, the health of my hair, and also just I thought that it did personally make a lot of sense for Akilah. I thought that if I was in her position, I would be looking to deal with my hair as little as possible, and so we came up with locks, and we found someone who's really incredible. So Alicia, Styles Hair on Instagram, she is who does my hair on set, and she's phenomenal at her job. She's incredible. And she found someone really lovely named Destiny in Vancouver who crochets locks, like handmade uh, locks, which were phenomenal. And so we crocheted them in, just so that I could still kind of style them and do different things with them. And I loved the way they turned out. I think that they looked really good. I think that they looked really authentic and realistic. And yeah, and so it was mostly just a choice about making me feel comfortable, while being on set and being in Vancouver, away from my normal hairstylist and away from, what I'm used to. So yeah, that was the choice for hair this season, and I'm glad we did it. I think, and it also felt like it gave Akilah this sort of a like a look to her that I felt right, for her this season. She's a bit of like more down to earth, and more like bit of a flower child vibe to her. She's really becoming one with the wilderness and with the animals, and it just felt very true to her journey. Yeah,
Yeah, that's so cool. And I love how they, took your input and
I
incorporated that
really
into the character.
appreciated it. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So now let's talk about some of the relationships that we've seen with Akilah throughout the show. I'm gonna start off with Mari, rest in peace, my queen. Um,
My
you know,
girl.
yeah, fly high.
Literally.
Yeah. She's the first one to welcome her on the plane because Akilah's JV. And honestly, I was surprised that Akilah wasn't like leading the charge to find Mari when she stormed off and like was in the hole. But what do you think draws them together, despite being kind of polar opposites? Mari's got those zingers and Akilah's quite nice.
Yeah, I would say almost like Grumpy Sunshine, even though I don't really consider Mari grumpy, but like there was like like bitchy versus sweetheart, like but in a way that just really works and they complement each other. I think that Akilah and Mari have found this friendship, both being like kind of the younger, girls on the team. Um, and I think that their relationship throughout, like, and like I wasn't there season one, but I got to watch a lot of that footage back of Mari and Akilah's scenes, and they are kind of almost like glued at the hip that first season. And then even in season two, Alexa and I have so many like wonderful moments and scenes together, and I think their relationship um, is it's truly so lovely. It's one of my favorite friendships on the show. But I do think that they I think they connect because Akilah does have this like almost innocence and sweetness to her. But I also feel like she has like a really great sense of humor. I can tell that in scenes with Mari and Akilah that they kind of share a sense of humor. Me and Alexa sometimes say like our other brain cell, and I do feel like that's true with Akilah and Mari. Like they're each other's other brain cell,
Mhm.
and yeah, I think that Mari's kind of like more defensive and has that bite to her, whereas Akilah is like very sweet, and I just feel like they complement each other in that way. I really do. I do love their friendship, and
Yeah.
I'm so sad for Akilah. She lost a lot that season finale.
Yeah, I was gonna say, how do you think Akilah would react to Mari's death?
I think she's gonna be devastated, but I do personally, as the actor, I mean, I don't know anything yet, so this is
Mhm.
me just saying, but I think that could be the straw that breaks the camel's back for Akilah. I feel like Akilah's
Yeah.
been through a lot this season, and I do feel like losing Mari is gonna have a bit of a strong effect on her. But again, who's to say?
Yeah. Who knows? Another one of my favorite friendships is Ty and Akilah. I remember back in season two, Jasmine spoke about going to the writers and asking them to make Ty and Akilah scenes, and I actually love that scene with you guys at the tub in episode four of season two, and
One
I
of
think
my favorite scenes.
that's one of the like I feel like it's one of the defining scenes of the show where we have these idea of the rituals, but do we believe it? I don't know, but it makes us feel good, and
Feel
that's all
good.
that matters.
Yeah.
So and then we saw in the finale, Thaisa comforted Akilah with the animals, and I just wanted so much more of that, just throughout the season.
No.
But can you talk about the bond between these two characters and why it makes sense?
Yes, I feel like, and I say this all the time, I think that Akilah looks up to Thaisa. I think that Taissa gives like this older sister sort of a vibe. And you see that in the first season when they're at the beach and Taissa's braiding Akilah's hair or fixing her hair.
Mhm.
And it just seems like in this in these circumstances, if I just naturally feel like the two black girls would gravitate towards each other. And I feel like Taissa's got such a strong like such a strong personality, and she has a leadership quality to her that I think Akilah really values and looks up to. And so naturally I just feel like that relationship just I just think it just falls together naturally on its own. I think they would always gravitate towards each other. And even still, we didn't have many scenes together this season, but there were moments where things would happen. And as Akilah, I would immediately look to Taissa to gauge her opinion on the matter or to see how she's feeling. Because I feel like if Akilah's not, or if Taissa's not feeling it, then Akilah's probably going to fall back. I feel like she's always looking to kind of like align herself with where Taissa's going because I think she just trusts her innately. And so that, and I do wish, I hope, my hope is to get more scenes. I love working with Jasmine. She's one of my favorites ever. I think she's just incredible. I admire her so much. And so to get more scenes with her would be incredible. It'd be
Yeah,
fun for sure.
for sure. Hopefully Thais is leading the charge looking for Akilah, which we're gonna get to the finale. Don't
Fingers
worry.
crossed. Someone better look
Um, Along the same vein with the relationships, we have a new relationship, Travis and Akilah. Can you talk
for
about like working with Kevin and building up that relationship? Because, we see Travis puts Lottie onto Akilah because, obviously
I
she's
know.
messing with him.
Uh,
But then we see that he does ultimately care about her, trying to pull her out of the caves and everything. And then he gives her that wake up call. And then there's like when they try and go rogue, and then they're kind of defending each other. And there's a lot of interesting things happening there. So could you talk about that?
yes. I'll start by saying love Kevin. Love Kevin so
Love
much.
Kevin.
Working with Kevin so much this season was a lot of fun. And I think the relationship between Travis and Akilah is very interesting this season. I think that it started off as um Travis obviously wanting to get Lottie off of his back and looking for any reason and any person to kind of like put her off to. And so I think that it just naturally was Akilah. I don't think that he meant for it to go as far as it did. So I think that a lot of the beginning stages of their friendship this season are kind of due to his guilt. Like I think it comes out of him just feeling guilty for, the position that he's now put Akilah in. And then I feel like they naturally do find I think they find a connection with each other. So when I think about Akilah and Travis, and I thought this last season too, I kind of feel like they're the only two innocent ones. Even though Akilah's not as innocent as we like to believe she is, as sweet as she still goes along with it. She's still gonna participate in the cannibalism. She's still
Hmm.
gonna participate in the hunt, mostly because I think she's afraid to be the hunted. But whereas Travis never really participated last season. In season 2, he didn't participate in the hunt. In the he did participate in the cannibalism, but like it was, you could tell that it wasn't really his idea. And I do feel like he, just as much as Shauna, is like lost a lot out there. And so I feel like Akilah feels for him. And I do feel like there is a natural trust there because she's never seen him be capable of the kinds of things she's seen the other girls be capable of. And so I do feel like they found a comfort in each other, just knowing that like they can probably trust each other not to like go rogue and kill each other and eat each other. You know what I mean? I
Hmm.
feel like they have found like a sort of comfort with one another. Um, and so, and I do think it was very sweet. I do think the nature of the relationship is more like friendship, sister, brother vibe almost. I feel like
Okay.
Travis probably sees Akilah as like a younger sister and someone to protect in a way that he probably couldn't protect Javi. And I feel like he sees that almost instantly after, throwing her under the bus to Lottie. I think that
Hmm.
he then sees, I think like that first scene where she passes out in the cave, I think the guilt like overtakes him and he immediately from that point forward sees her as someone that he needs to kind of protect or have her back or be there for. And I really enjoyed seeing them have each other's back throughout the season. I think that in episode 8, even when he tries to go rogue and he's like, we're gonna leave everyone behind, which also people were upset with Akilah for that as well, for kind of throwing that plan off. But I think that look, we don't know Cody. Okay. We don't
No,
know him.
you're
We
so
can't
right.
trust him. And I just feel like Akilah didn't see going off with this strange, huge white man in the woods to be a good idea.
Exactly.
And so, but what I liked about that is that she didn't like the idea and she didn't trust it. So she wasn't going to go through with it, which I also really love about Akilah is that Akilah is she's silent but very brave. When it needs to, when she doesn't want to go through with something or she wants to stand up for something, she will do that. And so I like that she did what she needed to do to kind of like call the girls over and to put a stop to that. But she never threw Travis under the bus, which she very well could have. She could have been like,
Mhm.
that was his idea and I don't know what he was thinking. Instead, she covered for him. And I loved that. It shows that it's like she's gonna stand up for what she believes in, but she's never going to like turn her back on him. She's always gonna have Travis's back. And I really liked that aspect of their relationship this season. I thought that it was really wonderful. And I like watched it back and I was like, wow, Kevin and I did such a lovely job with those scenes. Yeah, I loved the Travis Akilah friendship arc this season.
Yeah, I love that new relationship. And it was funny that you said that they're more like brother sister because I don't know
Yeah,
if you've seen, there's people shipping them together.
of course. And
Um,
naturally I get it. I do.
yeah, so I was just a throw off question. How does that rival like Mari and Akilah? I don't know if you've seen that too. There's just by virtue of, everyone gets
Um,
shipped with everyone in this show. So
Exactly. It's that kind of a show. We're all stranded in the wilderness. Everyone wants to see everyone hook up. But I will say that I think very different relationships for Akilah. Um, like I think where her like relationship with Travis is kind of, I think like very like sweet and innocent. They're just kind of like always having each other's back. I feel like it's like with Mari, it's more of like a sisterhood. Like I feel like Mari
yeah.
says things and Akilah's like rolling her eyes, like and I just feel like they have more of like a back and forth and a banter that I can see between Akilah and Mari, whereas like Travis and Akilah, I feel like it's more like sweet and like brother sister, like he has her back, she has his back, they're looking out for one another. Also just because they're both kind of thrown under Lottie's tutelage or whatever the heck she's got going on out here where she's manipulating us into connecting with it. So I feel like they kind of really have had to get close and really kind of have each other's backs because of the intensity of what they're going through out there with her.
Yeah. Speaking of, we'll talk about Lottie with the next relationship with Akilah. Can you talk about, I guess, how at first, she was like, I want nothing to do with you. And then all of a sudden they have the cave vision and she's like, actually, let's chat. So can you
Yeah,
talk about the change of belief and then also what it was like working with Courtney this season?
of course. It was great. Love Courtney. I will say that I think so in the very first episode, and when they hear the screams, which we then find out are the frogs, Akilah hears it before everyone else in the group. And so I kind of took that as my own context clue to be like, well, obviously Akilah is experiencing something that not everyone else is experiencing. I don't know if it's necessarily supernatural or what it is, or she's just a little more in tune because of her, relationship with the animals and how much time she's spending with them. But to me, that said, I was like, well, Akilah is obviously experiencing something that's not normal. And so I think that scared her a lot in the beginning. I think that she didn't really want that connection, whatever it was. And I think that the idea of Lottie even being interested in her was enough for her to like put that wall up and to say no. Because I think everyone can see what Lottie has become at that point. And I
Mhm.
think nobody, like especially Akilah, didn't want that. Especially after I think after last season, her imagining Nugget being alive and then he was actually dead. I think she just really didn't want to lose her sanity. And I think that she saw connecting with Lottie, reaching further into whatever that connection is. I think she saw that as going further down the insanity rabbit hole. And so I think she was really, really pushing that off and running from that. And then I think that being in the caves, having the vision, I think like really forced her to confront those feelings and what she was facing. And it became very real to her that this is maybe not just like some random occurrence, but it's actually might be this mystical, magical darkness that Lottie speaks of. Like maybe there is some truth to this, and maybe I am experiencing it. And I think that the only person she could turn to, I think she tries to talk to Shauna, she tries to talk to Van about what they've all experienced in that cave. And because they're so easily able to like throw it off as nothing, but she kind of knows deep down in her heart, it feels like more. It feels like
Mhm.
it's something's calling to her. I feel like she realizes the only person out here who she can turn to, who she can talk to, who's not gonna look at her like she's crazy or just not understand would be Lottie. And so I
Hmm.
think she's kind of like back against the wall. She's like cornered and there's no other option. And so that kind of forces her into Lottie's grasp, which was kind of sad to see. But at the same time, I did want to see her explore that. I did want to see what was behind that door. And so I am, as scary as it was for Akilah all season long, I was glad that she kind of explored that. I do feel like it was also a sense of like duty, also like feeling like, oh, if the wilderness is reaching out to me, if it has some message that it wants to give us through me, then I mean, it's my, then I guess it's my job to take that on and to, be the person who can get these messages for all of us if it's going to help us survive or if it's going to help us to get home. And I think that Akilah kind of took that on. Um, yeah. And I mean, I think Lottie put that on her, but I do think that she took it on willingly as something that she thought was necessary.
Hmm.
And like her way to help and to contribute to the group in some way. And then working with Courtney, Courtney's phenomenal. I mean, obviously, as the entire cast is, I literally admire all of them. But getting to work with Courtney this season was really great. She's awesome. And I could ask her, like, hey, like, what do you think of that? And she would be like, she would give me honest feedback, and it was really great. And she has like this intensity with her when she plays Lottie. It's just so dialed in and so good. So yeah, I learned a lot from working with Courtney this season, and yeah, we had a lot of fun. We got to do some really cool, crazy stuff.
Yeah. Speaking of the visions, I wonder, with the visions, there's so many interpretations of it. There's like what the characters think, what the fans are interpreting, and then what the showrunners or the writers, intended for it. So when, you're having the conversation with you read what's in the script, and then, do you speak to the writers and do they tell you exactly what it means, or how does that work?
That's actually a great question. And somewhat, yes. I will say the visions that I had in episode 3, Jonathan and I really did like discuss like the ins and outs of those and what Akilah was experiencing and feeling and thinking about everything and what she took from that, like the, sheep don't bite, everything with teeth bite, like the
Hmm.
like the meanings behind all of that. We did really discuss those in depth. And then I want to say as the visions continued, I think they kind of became self-explanatory.
Hmm.
Like in terms of like the Ben Bridge, the why am I blanking
The
on that?
bear.
Thank you, the bear, right? Which then later on we all feel like is Kodiak. So it's
Hmm.
like yeah, so I feel like everything then like had an explanation in the script, like kind of
Okay.
shortly after. So I kind of like just context clues and did that. There weren't a lot of discussions after the very first vision about the visions and their meanings, just because I was like, well, I would like read the script and I'm like, Akilah's having another vision. I'm like, what's this one mean this time?
Hmm.
Yeah. So, but the visions were really cool. I was having a little that's so Raven moment. It's the future I can see.
Yeah, and I mean for you, like playing it, I guess it's kind of good that if you don't know, because Akilah herself doesn't really know what's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you did mention the cave vision. Do you know why Akilah didn't get hurt by the slap bracelet? Is that something you can say? If not,
Okay, I'm gonna be honest. I don't actually know.
okay.
But my theory, I have two theories on it. I do think that it either has to do with like the purity of like whether or not like you've like whatever you've done and like because I feel like Akilah hasn't like necessarily crossed that threshold into like
Hmm.
really dark or evil necessarily, not in the way that I feel like Shauna certainly has. And then Van, I feel like, has maybe dabbled a bit at that point in terms of how dark they've gone. And so I feel like maybe that has something to do with it. It's kind of like what's on your soul or your consciousness in terms of like purity or whatever. Or I think crap. I hate when I have a thought and it just jumps right out of my head. Because I was gonna say the other one is I think that it's based off of who that'll come back to me. But I want to say that I normally I end up settling on whether it's because Akilah hasn't gone so far or hasn't crossed over
Hmm.
that threshold of darkness that the wilderness like wants. Oh yes, I would say, or it's versus like what the wilderness is choosing, like, or like who the wilderness is like choosing to protect. So I felt like it was maybe in that way the wilderness was showing Akilah, I I'm choosing you, and so therefore I'm choosing to protect you and to show you that like I'm bringing you into the fold, whereas it didn't do the same thing with Shauna or Van. And so, but I also, that is all up to interpretation.
Yeah.
Um, that is how I've interpreted that and how I've made that work for me in my own brain. But I've seen so many theories, and they've all been really cool.
Hmm. Yeah. I know. I think when I watched the episode, my theory was like how close they are to death and sort of like
Yeah,
if
yeah,
Sean
that
is the
was
last one left, you know.
that's also really good. Yeah.
Yeah. And then Jackie was dead already, so that's why it didn't hurt her. But speaking of Jackie, what was it like working with Ella since you weren't here in season one?
Ella was great. We only got to work together that one day. But
Hmm.
she was tons of fun and we she was really chill. I think we had a really good time. Yeah.
That's sick. All right, right. One more question before we get to the finale. Akilah's with the animals this whole season.
Yeah.
Can you just talk about what it was like working with the animals? What you think specifically draws Akilah to them, and then if there were any fun like mishaps you had with them? I don't know.
Yes. Okay. The animals were tons of fun. I love the bunnies the most. I'm like, can I say that? Yes, I love the bunnies the most just because they were so cute and cuddly. And I think I worked with them the most throughout the season. They were like every other episode I had a bunny. The llama was really freaking cool. Because one, the llama like knew what she was doing. Like they called action and she was dialed in immediately, like ready to go. And it was cool because like they would like feed her, and as she was eating they would like so her line or her mouth would move around the line,
Oh, uh-huh.
which was really cool. And the ducks were cool as well, not so much like really I don't think they liked being held or like liked the whole idea of being on a set,
Hmm.
but they were very cute. I do have one funny mishap with the animals. I had a goat in episode 5. um and at the end of episode 5, when they right after they cut Ben's Achilles,
Hmm.
um, so everyone is like it's like a drone shot, and they pull out, and you see everyone kind of getting up and going to their huts to kind
Oh
of
yeah.
leave and to scream. Um, and they at first the original note was, okay, we want everyone to kind of get up and disperse and like find their huts. And so I was like, great, but I'm holding this goat the entire time. So I'm like, well, obviously I was like, I'll just get up with the goat. And as they like are calling action and everyone's like getting up, I'm realizing as I'm doing it, I'm like, oh, this is a bad idea. I think I can't get up and hold him at the same time. And so like I think I like loosened my grip just an inch for a second, and the goat was immediately out of my arms, like jumped out and was gone. And it was like we were like, this is a night shoot. So it's the middle of the night, we're in the middle of the wilderness, and this goat is on the run. Okay. He is jumping over the fire. He's jumping every which way. And like you have not like it took everything in me not to bust out laughing because we had like crew members, we had like our director, and like everybody's like trying to like catch the goat in the middle of the middle of the wilderness. And I felt terrible, obviously, because I was like, this is clearly my fault. I was like, if this goat gets away and we never find him again, this is all on me. um but it was fine. They got him. And
You
like the
got
animal
him.
wranglers came down and everyone we got him. And then I did use him for the rest of the scene. I just didn't get up. And as you see, Akilah does not move after that.
Hmm.
She kind of stays put, which also I feel like fits and works for her because I feel like she kind of takes on that guilt of Ben being alive because she kind of,
Yeah.
told everyone he's the bridge, he's our bridge to getting home. We need to keep him alive, which I think Akilah thought that was gonna save him in the end, but instead it kind of just led to
Yeah.
him being tortured and miserable for the remaining days. And so I do think that she took a lot of that on. So her sitting there and kind of like being forced to sit with his pain and her choices, I think was a strong choice. But it was born of the fact that we had to keep the goat in place. Yeah, but that was honestly probably one of the funniest moments all season. I
I
tried
love
really hard
hearing
not to laugh, but it was funny.
I love hearing stories like that. And I think, was there a story that like a duck peed on Steven or something like that?
The goat, that
The
very same
goat.
goat, that
That
very
goat's
same goat,
causing
that
problems.
that goat was crazy. And the funny thing, he was cute though. He did pee on Steven. I wasn't present for that,
Hmm.
but I did hear about it later, where the goat peed on Steven. The thing about that goat is so the goat was supposed to be really sick in the scenes. He was supposed to be
Hmm.
like I was supposed to be like trying to keep him alive and like fed and stuff. And we would go to shoot the scene of me being like, oh, he's so sick. I'm trying to get him back to health. And this goat would be like looking all around. He'd be like making noise and like jumping up and like he just like was not sick at
Oh
all.
my
Like was not
God.
selling it whatsoever. I said, buddy, you were here to do a job and you are not doing it well.
He needs to
um,
go to the llama acting school.
truly, wherever the llama went, get that acting coach, please.
Yeah,
Um, yeah,
that's so
no,
funny.
the goat was a lot of fun. I probably was the most lively of all the animals.
Mhm. Okay, finale time. I'm going to start off with the plan. I'm hoping you can clarify this
I
because,
absolutely can.
okay, because at first I thought Nat was like in the plan with, Mario, Akilah, Jen, Melissa, but it seems that there were like three separate plans happening
There
at
were
once.
three separate plans.
Okay, go for
And
it.
so I will say that there was a scene that was originally shot that was cut and
Hmm.
rearranged. And I do like the way it was rearranged. I think that it like added mystery to it, but I do think that we lost a bit of the plan in that. And I've seen a lot of people confused. So there were three different plans. The plan that Akilah is a part of is Akilah, Melissa, Mari, Jen.
Hmm.
Um, and basically, it was a plan in which Mari comes up with the idea that maybe we should Shauna.
Mm.
Um, and so I think because that was something that we needed to do. So the plan was basically that, and Akilah's basically saying, well, if that's something that we want, we need a hunt, obviously. That's like the best way to kind of like have a distraction in order to get to Shauna. Because at this point, as we see, like they're doing bed checks, Shauna's really in charge. She's got people looking after her, protecting her. And so I think we figured, our only way to get to her would be through a hunt. And so Akilah, and I really love about this is that this is the first moment that you really see how smart Akilah truly is. Like I think all season long we see like, oh, she's so sweet, she's so innocent, she's being manipulated by Lottie, which is true. But granted, I do think that she's a lot smarter than we give her credit for. And that although she has been being manipulated, I think by choice because she wanted to have some understanding of these visions, but we see in this moment finally that she knows how to manipulate Lottie right back. It's like, well, if we want a hunt, then I know exactly how to encourage that.
Hmm.
I've been having visions and I've shared these visions with Lottie about my animals dying and passing. And so if we make it seem like a vision has come true, then I'm like playing on Lottie's undying belief in the wilderness. And she feels like, oh, this vision has come to fruition because this is clearly what the wilderness wants from us. It wants us to feed. It wants blood. And so Akilah then decides that she's gonna sacrifice everything and she's going to kill her animals to inspire this hunt. So that's kind of the plan. The plan was between the four of them, and it was really an opportunity to get Shauna out of here as well
Hmm.
as Lottie. And so basically the plan is to get the hunt happens. And then the second plan is we have Van and Thaisa planning to rig the
Hmm.
draw. And so their plan is to rig the draw and to force the queen card onto Hannah, which makes the most sense for
Yeah,
us at least, right? And so with all of this going on, obviously Shauna can feel that
they
there's
weren't being
going
very.
on, but she can't tell what exactly is happening. She just feels that it's against her.
Hmm.
Which I imagine someone who's being an evil tyrant would feel a little paranoid.
Hmm.
And so she, as we see, throws the count off, throws the draw off at the last minute, and the card that was meant for Mari, she ends up taking, and then the card that was meant for Hannah, which is the queen, Mari has to take. And so I think that you see like this moment of us, and there's like more determination than there is fear for Mari, because I think our plan was always that this hunt was going to be a distraction and we were going to use it to try to off Shauna. So like no matter who pulled the card, I think our plan was never to go after that person.
Hmm.
If you think about it, I feel like when you watch the hunt, the only real person hunting Mari is Shauna.
Correct. Yes.
Everyone else has like other agendas. Um, And so that happens, and then you kind of see Melissa go after Shauna, you see Akilah go after Lottie, and kind of finally confront her with words that I just needed her to say all season long. Like, this is all your fault. Like, I feel like Akilah took on so much of that, like so much of the guilt of the season and all the things, like the Ben bridge and keeping Ben alive for so long until he was tortured and then eventually killed. I just feel like so much of that she took on and was just like, this is clearly my fault and I can't make sense of these visions, nothing makes sense and I don't understand it. And I feel like she like sat with that all season and it was really hard for her. And I think in that moment she realizes, actually all of this is your fault. What happened to Ben is your fault. My guilt and my shame is your fault. Us being chaotic and hunting each other is your fault. And I feel like that was just finally a moment, like that was just so needed, like it just needed to be said, and so it felt really good, that moment. But yeah, the plan, because I've seen a lot of because when I approach Lottie in the cave and she says it must have really hurt to do what you did, that's just Lottie's really weird, like, know it all, seeing everything, all seeing like personality. That's not, Akilah and Lottie had not planned together.
Oh
Akilah
yeah,
and
no.
never planned. That was Akilah fully manipulating Lottie. And even though it worked, Lottie still knew what was being
Mhm.
pulled on her because she's Lottie. Can't pull anything past her.
Nope.
But it was not a plan between the two of them at all.
Yeah.
It was definitely Akilah trying her best to pull the wool over Lottie's eyes and to try to manipulate this situation, to give everyone a fighting chance, honestly, of getting out of there. But that was, yeah, no, that was a plan born fully of Akilah, Melissa, Jen, and Mari.
Mhm.
And I think we're quite proud of the plan, and we did the best we could.
Yeah, unfortunately, it didn't turn out how you wanted it to.
No, not at
So,
all.
was Akilah meant to kill Lottie as well, or is that just like a confrontation thing? Because she does pick up the rock.
It's not, it's never specified, but what I will say is I think that Akilah, I think it crosses her mind. I think that she thinks that it would be the best thing to do. I think that we see that Shauna
Mhm.
and Lottie are the two people that are like adamant on keeping everyone here. And I think that Lottie has done so much damage that I think it like, really does cross Akilah's mind. I think that she truly wishes that she could end it and to put a stop to it. I think she realizes all of the craziness and all of the chaos is coming out of Lottie. And that if we could just put a stop to her, then maybe we could have some semblance of like common sense and peace and control. But
Mhm.
I don't think that Akilah has it in her. I think she picks up that rock, maybe with the intention of hurting Lottie, but I don't think that she has it in her to do that at all.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um,
And I hope
yeah.
on the flip side of that is Lottie doesn't have it in her to do anything to Akilah, because you should have
Right.
seen me when I was watching the whole time. I'm like, where's Akilah? Where's it? Where is she? And at first I was like, oh no, she's cooked. But like I have faith that she's alive, hopefully. I know you probably don't know anything, you can't say
I
anything.
have not a clue, but I pray and hope. I pray
Hmm.
and hope she makes it out of that cave, that she survives it. Um, but yeah, it's wild. I'm just so proud of her. I will say that I'm just
Yeah.
really proud of Akilah in that final episode. Just I think the strength that it took her to sacrifice her animals, and to even confront Lottie in the first place, because I don't think Akilah's a confrontational person at all. I think it took a lot out of her. I think she really had to get to her breaking point to putting the blame on someone else. I think Akilah's like the type of a character who would just take that on and to feel guilty about things without even like her anxiety would just like get to her without even ever expressing it. But I just feel like that was a moment for her to finally say, actually, no, this is not my guilt to carry. This is not my burden at all. This is all you're doing. Actually, the reason Travis is in this way, the reason I'm in this, the reason all of us are stuck here, it's all your fault.
Hmm.
And so I'm so proud of her for saying that. Needed to
Well,
be
thank you
said.
for clearing up that plan because there's a lot of people that are like, why don't they just kill Shauna? Well, they tried.
We
And
tried.
then
Trust me, we tried.
yeah, and then Nat, her thing just happened to coincide, which is it's so
Yes.
interesting how these plans happened independent of each other, and yet some of
Yes.
it worked together, some of it didn't, and if only they just all came together as the team, but they
And
can't
that was
because Shauna.
Yes, and that was the third plan. I forgot to mention. It's
Mhm.
Natalie Van Misty,
Mhm.
which Hannah then ends up getting roped into in the very end, which actually helps that plan to fully, work. But yeah, it's three separate plans all happening at once, completely like without knowing about each
Mhm.
other. And yeah, it's chaos, but in the best way. I really love that hunt scene a lot. Like the whole sequence of events of it just being everyone has their own separate agendas. It's just I really, really loved it a lot.
Mhm. Um, do you have a dream fan cast for adult Akilah, and what do you think she would be up to if she got out of the wilderness?
It's a good question. I'll answer what I think she'd be up to first because I feel like that's easy. I feel like she would probably be some sort of veterinarian or like in the like medical world in some way. Whether it be a doctor or physician, like something of that sort. Just because I can see Akilah wanting a job where she can help people or help animals. I think she like her passion is animals. So I could probably see her being like a veterinarian, something where she can really merge the two. Um, and then fan casts. I've seen some really good ones. And then hold on because I need to look one up because this one I haven't said before, but it crossed my mind the other day. And I was like, oh, of course it would have to be her. 1 second.
Yeah.
I want to make sure I pronounce her name correctly. Deborah Irende from Them. I think she would actually make a really, really good adult Akilah. Um, Especially after everything that Akilah's been through, I just feel like there like would be a bit of an edge to her, and I feel like Deborah Irande like really, really, really has that. Or also Tika Sumter is also a fan cast that I've had for a long time, and I mention her all the time just because I feel like we do. I feel like we favor each other a bit for sure, but as well as I feel like she has this like purity and like kindness to her that Akilah really possesses. And I just feel like that would like it would just naturally be a good fit. Um, so yeah, I feel like those are my top two choices. And then I've seen like really freaking cool ones like Gabrielle Union, Regina King, like which obviously I'd be honored. But yeah, I feel like the best that like would fit the story really well, I think would be like Tika Sumter or Deborah. Or yeah, just phenomenal, phenomenal choices.
Yeah. Here's hoping that we get an adult
I know.
Akilah.
Here's hoping that'd be really cool, right?
Yeah. All right. One question I do have to ask you, because this has been a lot of fans, there's everyone's always picking up on like who could be in the cast, right? And there
Mhm.
was an actress named Evans Johnson. Have you heard about this? Can you give us a insight on who is Evans Johnson?
Evans, Evans is amazing.
Hmm.
Her so much. Evans, she worked on this season with us. She's on crew and or she's like yeah, she was on crew. And I think I don't really know how like these things have a mind of their own and these rumors take off, I think kind of on
Yeah.
their own. I think she had posted something of me on her story or something about the season, just being excited for the work I got to do. She was there
Hmm.
every day with the best energy, and it was so supportive throughout the entire like filming process. And so I think that she just wanted to like give me a shout out and just like a boost of confidence as the season was starting, just to be like, I'm really excited for Nia's work this season.
Yeah.
You know, and people took that, and they
It, it
with it,
spiraled.
ran right off with it. And I noticed that. So, and I think it was like a fan page that posted
Hmm.
Evans Johnson added to the cast of Yellowjackets. And then from that point forward, it just kind of went on its own. And I never said anything about it. I never approached her to talk about it because one, I was like, well, I don't want to ruin anyone's hope, I'll let
Hmm.
that stay a thing. Um, but yeah, I did notice. I was thinking, I was like, I was like, people are probably going to be very sad, very sad at the end of the season. Really sorry to everyone who was like thinking that was. I want to say personally, I would like to clear the air. I never once pushed that rumor or addressed that rumor because I didn't want to do any false hope or anything like that. But I think it was exciting for a lot of people to maybe think or to speculate. And I mean, I've been a big fan of so many shows, and I know that a big part of like the fun is the speculation and the doing research of the behind the scenes and figuring out. Like I belong to some fandoms. I get it. I totally get doing your research and trying to guess and figure out who will be a part of the season and who will show up. And so I didn't want to like steal that away and say that. So yeah, but I never really like addressed it or pushed it because I didn't want to, lie or anything. But
Hmm.
yeah, I'm sorry. There was not an adult Akilah reveal this season, guys. I'm so sorry.
Thank you for clearing the air because I was like, if there's one person I can ask, it is Nia. But I think that's just a testament to how much people love Akilah and they want her story to continue, or even like if she was a family member, like I think that would have been cool too.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
that's so
My
funny
older
though.
sister, who
Hmm. Has a nephew, or yeah, the son, or yeah. Is there anything else you want to talk about season three content wise before I move into like behind the scenes questions? Because I know you said you had some other things you wanted to
that's
address.
we've covered what I want to clear up, which was
Okay.
the
Cool, cool. Do you have any headcanons for Akilah that like perhaps make help you understand the character more?
explain to me what a headcanon is.
A headcanon is like things that necessarily aren't on the script that we see, but like things that you believe that are integral to her character that you've kind of adopted as your own, even though it's not necessarily canon.
Oh, wow. I love that. Give me a second.
Mhm.
Like there are some things.
It could be
Well,
like she likes fries, like it could be anything.
right, like things like that. I do feel like Akilah has a bit of like I feel like well, this was kind of used this season, but not much. Like I do think we gave her a bit of like a flower child or like an earthy identity this season. And so I did kind of like play with the fact that she does like a lot of gardening and like spends a lot of her time when she's not with the animals, like in the garden and like planting and things like that. Just because I feel like Akilah I feel like in between season two and season three, Akilah took a lot of time to herself. I think for her mental health, but also I think so she found a lot of ways to be comfortable on her own. And I said gardening was one of them, and the animal husbandry and all of that sort of stuff. Which we didn't like necessarily get to see her do this season, but I did like kind of have that with me a lot of the time. Like I feel like Akilah would naturally be drawn to the garden area, or obviously be drawn to the animal pen, those sorts of things. And then also like I do feel like, I mean, I don't know if this counts because there's not necessarily a lot of us on the page, but I do feel like there's a lot of like I think there's a much bigger relationship between Thaisa and Akilah that's like
Mhm.
not on screen. And I do feel like that does influence some of my choices just in terms of like where I gravitate to, or like who I look to, and like group scenes when like crazy things are happening. I'm always like looking for Thaisa's opinions or things like that. So like things that aren't necessarily like written on the page, but I've like taken with me and like used throughout, or things like that.
Yeah, that's so cool. Do you, Akilah doesn't have a last name. Have you ever thought of a last name for her?
A few, a few. Like I used to, because I do character journals, and it used to be hard for me to not have every detail of a character panned out.
Mhm.
So I did give her one in the beginning. I forget what it was now. Probably something like really generic, like Williams or Johnson or something like that. Just so it was like just something just so that I could have like a full fleshed out character to look at. Then over time, as I've played this role, I've realized like having the last name is like not that important to me. But I mean I do pray for the day that she gets one. I
Yeah.
do. I know it. I know it's a big deal in this fandom to have a last
Mhm.
name. Can't wait to graduate from Akilah Yellowjackets.
Yeah, Akilah Yellowjackets, Akilah, no last name. There's so many.
No last name. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Mhm.
Seen
I
them
mean,
all.
Mari did, so
I know
there's
exactly,
always
and I'm
hope.
so happy for her. She graduated into Mari Ibarra. We love that for
Hmm.
her.
Yeah. Um, I know when I spoke to Sammy, she spoke about there was a cut scene with the feeding tube. You mentioned this kind of before about how you're like nursing the
Yeah.
goat back. Can you talk about that and then maybe any other deleted scenes there might be?
Yes. Oh, because I really loved that scene a lot. It was a scene between me and Steven, which was like one of the only times I really got to work with Steven, which by the way, I mean, rent was due this season. He killed it. Um, Incredible to work with Steven. So it was basically a scene where so we had two scenes together that episode, and the first one is still in, which is where he's in the animal pen and I'm in there with the goat. And we kind of chat a bit. And then the scene after that, basically I'm trying to figure out a way to feed the goat, and he lets me know that there is an idea that he has with like a feeding tube, and I try it out and it works, and so he's like, oh, you got it to work. And And I'm like, yeah. And so as I'm like working on it, he offers to like take the goat from me. And it's like a really, really nice moment just between Akilah and Coach Ben, where you kind of see that Akilah never wanted this for him, that she doesn't believe he burned the cabin down. It's just like a nice moment where you see, oh yeah, Akilah is on his side, as you probably would have suspected. But through that scene, the feeding tube becomes a much bigger deal later on, as you see, because then that's how they force feed
Mhm.
Ben. And it's kind of like his idea of it, which is I feel like these girls. I remember reading that in the script and being like, how dare they? But yeah, it was like his idea that he gave to Akilah to help feed her goat out of the kindness of his heart. And then Lottie then takes advantage of that, because you see in the scene where we're in the hut and she goes, well, I have an idea if he's not eating. And we kind of share a look. And that's basically from that scene where she had noticed that I had been using the feeding tube to feed the goat.
Mhm.
And so that's kind of what that scene was about. And I did love it for many reasons, I think, because it kind of helped to show that Akilah really was never against Ben, despite what she voted, what she was coerced into voting. And also just like a really sweet moment where you see that Ben still has such a good heart, and that, these girls have literally tied him up and put him in an animal pen, and he's still willing to help them, and to, he still has so much kindness to show Akilah. And it was just really sweet. Heartfelt. So yeah, really sad to have lost it, but it's okay. Some things have to go in order to, make the series what it is.
Yeah. All right. I'll give you my last question. Kind of, well, last two. Do you have a moment you're most proud of this season?
Yeah, I'll probably say in episode 10, if I'm just being honest, episode 10, that like the scream, the cry, the animals like
Oh
dying.
yeah.
I remember being very nervous about that. I remember being, because it was like a bit of a performance within a performance, because Akilah knows that she's killed her animals, and she is very, very distraught and sad. Like all of that pain and hurt was very real, but her putting it on display for everyone to see like that was a performance. And so for me, I was like, there were like so many ways I could have played it. But I wanted it to be that, I wanted it to show that like these are just kids,
Mhm.
and she's just losing it out here, and she's really hurt. And um this has been like kind of the, the straw to break the camel's back, whatever. This is like really, really next level for her, especially because you've seen Akilah all season long, and the one thing she's clung to is her animals. And I feel like it's been a bit of a lifeline for her. It's what's helping her keep her humanity, her sanity, all of those things out here. And so I wanted that moment to be very like real, and I wanted it to hurt. I wanted people to feel bad for Akilah. And when I watch it back, I do feel really bad for Akilah, and it
Yeah.
does make me sad. And I feel like it turned out the way it needed to. And just like based off how like nervous I think I was going into filming that scene, and then to see it afterwards, I am very proud of it. Um,
You should be. You absolutely bodied that. Like the screams are like, oh, they're still in my head. Oh. All right, last question. What types of projects would you want to do in the future?
oh, everything. Um, everything, everything, everything. I there's a book series that I am absolutely in love with, called Legendborn by Tracy
Oh
Dion. I don't know
yeah.
if you've read it. It's phenomenal. I'm absolutely obsessed. And there's the main character, her name is Bree Matthews. That's like a dream role of mine. Like since I read the first book in 2020, I remember thinking, if this ever goes to series or feature, like I have to. So
Gotta
yeah, I'm
be
like,
in the room.
yes, I need to be in the room where it happens. It's like a really big like book nerd. I love a good fantasy or dystopian series. And so something like that would be freaking awesome. A dream come true, really. So I think like I have my eyes set on things like that. And like even with this new adaptation of Fourth Wing coming out, I mean, I would love to play Rhiannon, So like there's so many like really cool like actiony or like fantasy or dystopian sorts of series, like book to screen adaptations, that I'd really love to be a part of. Sunrise and Reaping,
Yep.
there's really cool ones. So I think like I kind of have my eyes set on that. But honestly, anything and everything. I just love to tell stories.
Yeah. Well, we'll start the campaigns now. We'll keep your name in the loop. Twitter is a magical place, or
It
like the social
really
media, the way that everything kind of just spirals on its own and gets a life of its own. So yeah, thank you so much, Nia, for, taking the time to talk with me. Phenomenal job as Akilah, praying for her in the cave and for her to get a last name. And hoping for a season 4 of Yellow Jackets as well. Great job. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. This was such a fun interview, by the way. Thank
Oh,
you. I had a
thank
great
you.
time.
Thank you. Have a great rest of your day, and I'm looking forward to whatever you do in the future.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And I'll
Yes.
be watching your content as always.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Bye.